So this is something that shouldn't really shock anyone when you hear this news. Um, of course, this obviously from the Independent that Britain is set to be left without an environmental watchdog when the Brexit transition period ends. Of course, obviously, the environmental watchdog is the well, well, what it essentially does, it's the referee, and that sounds pretty obvious, but a lot of people really don't realise this is the referee who enforces the rules of the game. It makes sure that companies, businesses, local areas are enforcing the environmental standards that they set, and it's not just make sure that rubbish is disposed properly. It's make sure that it's dumped in a secure and safe way. It makes sure that companies that use maybe chemicals or dangerous or hazardous materials are also disposed of in a safe and secure way. And trust me, there have been very many examples of companies that, when it's come to disposing of said chemicals, has decided not to follow the rules because just throwing it in the local river is it's just cheaper. So it is really important that we have an environmental watchdog, and it's really important, to continue with the dog analogy, that this dog has teeth, because they need to be able to punish companies and to stop them and other companies from following that example. Because one of the things that really worries me is, we know the Tories are very, at the moment, these free market fundamentalists are all about there being no regulation, and if there are referees, them having almost no power at all, to the point of them just being just symbolic in nature. So this is something that we've really got to be aware of, that when this eventually comes, that this watchdog does have teeth, and if it doesn't, then this is something that we once again have to fight for. And this is the annoying thing, because we told people before, and we told you this would happen, that these rules and regulations would be weakened on purpose by these Brexiteers, that this is eventually what they really wanted. And it's we told you so, but and I don't want to get it printed on a T-shirt, by the way, but possibilities. But this is something that we should really, really worry about. But yeah, we'll get into the article then from the Independent, and we've already said the name of it. Nope. But Britain is set to be left without an environmental watchdog to replace the EU at the end of the Brexit transition period, because the government, and this is a quote, is dither and delay over legislation. Minister's flagship environmental bill was supposed to establish a new enforcement structure for environmental regulations in time for the end of December, when the EU rules stop applying. But recent delays to the legislation mean that there is no longer enough parliamentary time for the bill to pass into law before the 1st of January, leaving a gaping chasm in environmental enforcement. Environmental groups said the bill was the most important piece of environmental law of the last decade, and that these delays would likely lead to extra harm of the environment. Boris Johnson's government seems to be treating the environmental bill like an easy crisis, said Rebecca Newsom, head of politics at Greenpeace UK. Delaying this vital piece of legislation until the last minute could lead to less scrutiny, fewer chances to improve it, and a cliff edge in the environmental safeguards and their enforcement once the EU rules no longer apply. And I have a very, very sneaking suspicion this is all part of the Tory plan. Eventually, we've been through this song and dance before, but the Tories are free market fundamentalists and want no regulation whatsoever. And a watchdog to them is the referee that enforces the regulation. So not having an environmental one is probably what their goal is. And as we said in the beginning, it will probably be there just more to act as a symbolic thing. and then if should a something like a company be exposed, the watchdog can get the blame, and they'll go in and they'll do, oh, here's this paltry fine, or no one will get taken to court or anything like that, which is what would happen under the rules. They'll just get away with it, and then of course this will encourage more and more. Of course, one of the big improvements, a lot of people have clearly said, is the massive improvement of Britain's beaches during this time of us being in the EU, and their rules about, especially around the environment and the cleaning of the beaches, massively improved our coastline dramatically. So it's worrying that we had such a bad coastline before, and we're probably about to see that go back to that situation. She called for, quote, a powerful independent watchdog that can hold ministers' feet to the fire when it comes to protecting the living world. And I completely agree with her. We do need a really good watchdog on this. Does it need to be independent? Questionable, but I can't see the reason why not having an independent watchdog would be a good thing. But of course, it needs government backing, of course, and that's why I worry about the independent part to me, because the government, again, the Tory government, could very easily go, okay, it's independent, let's just underfund it so that it can't do its job properly and effectively. That's what worries me about it being a independent functionary of the government. But I can see reasons why. So I'm not against that. But there are pros and cons to that in practice. So just something, again, we have to be aware of, and that, again, something we are going to have to fight for. Something that, because we were in the EU, we didn't have to fight for because it was EU law. And I keep on saying this, and I have said this, we are going to have to enter a ton of battles to try and get and keep and secure rights that we already had when we were in the EU. And I just don't think people understand the amount of fights that we are going to have to fight, not only just for the environment, but food standards and even workers' rights as well. And that one is going to be the biggie. So after the resumption of Parliament business in the summer, bills on immigration, trade, pensions and the Commonwealth Games were all brought back before MPs, but the environmental bill has yet to do. The government has exchanged the bill's timetable 3 times, and Labour says that the latest... go away. Okay. And Labour says... Yep. And the Labour says that the latest schedule means that MPs will not be able to give a detailed scrutiny of it until at least the 1st of December, and the start of a process that takes months. Luke Pollard, Labour's shadow environmental secretary, said that the government's dither and delay highlights a worrying lack of focus on the urgent need to protect our environment. We cannot afford any more government incompetence. Ministers need to act now. And of course, what can you say? This government is clearly not prepared for Brexit, and this just falls into one of the reasons why this is so. Why on earth are we focusing on a bill on the Commonwealth Games when the environmental bill is clearly far more important than that? So, the government says that it's committed to resuming passage of the bill. A DEFRA spokesperson said that we are committed to a greener future, which is why we are setting ambitious goals for nature and biodiversity in our landmark environmental bill, as well as introducing new ways to reward farmers for protecting the environment and investing £640 in the Nature and for Climate Fund. Again, sounds nice. However, how will that work out? We don't know, because we haven't seen what's in the bill. We generally just don't know, and that's of course typical Tory attitude these days. You say nice things, but until you actually see what's in writing, what they're trying to pass, take it with always take it with not just a grain of salt, a very large rock piece of salt, shall we say. Anyway, she continued to say, We remain the first major economy to legislate for net zero as we build for a greener future from the coronavirus pandemic, and we are committed to shaping a cleaner and more resilient society. The UK left the EU earlier this year, but the Brexit transition period, under which all EU rules continue to apply Britain, is set for the 31st of December, and the EU and the UK are trying to negotiate a free trade agreement before this date is to facilitate trade. Why? That has nothing to do, that doesn't make any sense. That has nothing to do with the environmental bill. No, just doesn't make any sense why you would bring that up, but yeah. And again, this is just the environment. I still worry about what is going to happen to all these other rights that haven't been secured. Yes, they're going to be, quote, enshrined into law at the end of the year. However, we've already known that there are the Henry VIII powers wandering around Parliament still, so how much of that is going to be affected? And with a gaggle of Tories that are very, very pro deregulation, how many of these regulations are just going to go like that? That, ladies and gentlemen, is the worrying part. And with that said, thank you for watching. Please do hit that like and share button. It does help out the channel lots. If you are new, please do hit that subscribe button. We do talk a lot about British politics and, of course, Brexit, because, well, it's going to be like that for some time to come. And of course, if you would like to support the channel a different way, there's my Patreon link down below, as well as a one-off donation link. So please do visit them. And of course, to the people that do support me already in that way, thank you very much. Your support is very much appreciated. And with that said, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.